Have you ever walked away from a really tense conversation and thought, wow, what just happened? That escalated fast. Maybe it started small with a little off tone of voice, or maybe a comment was made, or some kind of misunderstanding. But before you know it, you're going back and forth with this person, and voices are getting louder, tempers are starting to flare, maybe there's accusations being made. It's just a full on argument. And what might make it really frustrating is you might try to defend yourself, but you feel like that just makes things worse. And it usually does. Why is that? That's because people often don't calm down when they're being corrected, but we do tend to calm down when we feel like we're being understood. That's why today I want to talk about the golden skill that can really help us to reduce conflict in our relationships and just feel better overall, and that is the skill of listening. Most of us are never formally taught how to listen, and in the absence of that, we do other things. We interrupt, we minimize, we change the subject, or maybe we try to rush to solutions. But there is something so special and valuable about being able to listen in our relationships. The first part of listening is just to provide presence, just your presence. This is especially important in today's busy, fast-paced world where we are all being bombarded moment to moment by outside messages and stimuli, especially from our devices. So consider that when you enter into the listening space, you want to show with your body language that you are fully attentive to that other person. You want to put distractions away. And perhaps you're not feeling distracted by something. Maybe your phone is out and you're not paying attention to it. But just that phone sitting there might indicate to the other person that you are distracted. So you want to make it clear that you are offering the person that you're with your undivided attention. Make eye contact as much as possible and try to face that person. Okay, now that we provided our presence, we're ready to listen. How can we remember to do that? What does that look like and feel like? Well, the first thing you might want to do is give yourself some sort of reminder that your intention is to remain silent but also be listening. Maybe you want to hold an object that helps you to maintain that mindfulness. Or if you have an impulse to talk, maybe you want to just gently hold your tongue in between your teeth. Don't bite down in a painful way, but just do something that helps you to remember, this is my intention. I am not going to speak. Okay? Once you have done something to help yourself stay focused on the task of listening, I want to invite you now to practice listening with empathy. This is about listening for emotion. Try to imagine what it is that that other person is feeling in that moment. What is the need that hasn't been met? Or what is the threat that that person might be feeling? What is the emotion that they're holding? Try to have empathy. Now, maybe you don't quite understand, but that's why you're there to listen. That's why you're just trying to hear that person out. You're trying to understand perspective and context. Context is like putting pieces together of a puzzle. Maybe you see one piece of the puzzle. It doesn't make sense to you, but the more you listen, the more you gather additional pieces of that person's puzzle. And soon all those pieces together make up the picture of that individual's perspective. Remember that listening is not about agreeing necessarily, but it is about learning. So if we are listening to learn, we have to keep looking for those extra puzzle pieces until we have a full picture of how that person is feeling. Now, you might find that as you're listening to this other person, perhaps you're hearing things that are starting to get you activated. Maybe these are things you do not agree with. Maybe they're things you find offensive. This is just you listening to this person. It's not time to address that yet. That time will come, but sometimes people have to get these things out. So remember that you listening is not in any way an endorsement or an agreement with what that person is saying. It's just you allowing that person to discharge that frustration. Now, the caveat that I want to make here is that if this communication is coming through as abusive, if there is profanity and this person is just trying to degrade you, or if there's any mind or mood altering substances that have been used, you will probably need to stop this conversation. It's not going to be productive. It's not going to help anyone involved, and it might actually just increase some of the tension and the damage that's being done. So don't tolerate something that feels downright abusive. But you need to discern the quality of that communication? Is this person just frustrated? Are they venting some hot air, or are they really just trying to hurt me? And if the answer is the latter, remove yourself from that conversation. Okay, now that we've talked about the importance of presence and how to listen, I want to share some additional strategies that will take your listening to the next level. These are the things that really do convey to the person that you're talking with that you care, that you're paying attention, that it isn't just passive listening where you might be in your own thoughts, but you're actually active listening. These are some things that you can do. Let's just take an example. Let's imagine that you have a partner who is having a really tough week. Maybe this person is overworked, overwhelmed, and they're getting a little moody. They're being prickly. So you just focus on maybe picking up more slack at home, doing more things because this other person seems checked out. But you're also starting to get a little resentful because it feels like you're doing more work these days and this person's a little snippy with you. They're not really being kind or warm or engaging. The tension grows and soon you're having an argument. This person is telling you that they are struggling so much, but you don't really seem to care and you're not really being available to this person. Maybe you're hearing things that make you feel like you're being a bad partner because this person is just having such a difficult time managing their workload and you just are in your own world. So if you're practicing reflective listening, at this point, all you need to do is listen for the feelings and reflect those feelings back. Maybe you make comments such as, wow, it really sounds like you're just exhausted right now. It sounds like you feel kind of hurt and alone because you're overwhelmed. It sounds like you don't feel like I've been making much time for you lately. It sounds like you don't feel that I care about what you're going through. Again, these are statements that are reflecting back what you are hearing that other person say. So there doesn't need to be a lot of translation going on. Even if you're using the same wording, that's okay. This allows that person that you're talking to hear their own statements and thoughts being reflected back, and that can occur as a form of validation. Another strategy is to practice paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is when you do start to connect some dots. And that, in this situation, could look like you maybe saying something like, it sounds like on the weeks where you feel more overwhelmed, it means more to you to have me connect with you. You want more from our relationship. It sounds like when you're under stress, it helps you if you feel like I am supporting you and you're needing more support during these kinds of weeks. Am I getting that right? Now, that's an important part, is to ask questions, to check for understanding, to make sure that what it is that you're paraphrasing is actually accurate. Sometimes we don't have it right. We're hearing things through our own filter, but it isn't exactly what's being expressed. So if you paraphrase what you're hearing, make sure you are asking follow-up questions to check for understanding. Is that accurate? Did I get that right? Is that how you're really feeling? These are the ways that you are empowering that other person to confirm, yeah, that's it, or not exactly. Not only does this promote better understanding, mutual understanding, but it does help that person feel like what they're feeling and expressing is being listened to and it's important. And along those same lines of checking for understanding is to ask clarifying questions. Sometimes when people are emotional, they might be communicating in a way that feels kind of foggy, abstract, maybe dramatic. So asking clarifying questions is a way to better fill in the gaps in your understanding. Make sure that you are drawing things out of that individual. There might be things that have not been mentioned or talked about, things that have not been volunteered that are an important part of the overall picture. So ask clarifying questions. Asking questions is a huge part of active listening. It lets that person know that you are paying attention. You want to know more. Now, how much should you be talking right now? Well, it's important to think about the ratio. If you're going to ask a question, be sure you're giving that person ample time to respond. If you're just in your head thinking about the next question or the next statement you're going to say, you're not providing enough space for that person to really feel heard. So when you offer a reflective listening statement or a clarifying question, give that other person ample time to respond so that it does still feel like they are in the position of being the speaker. Another important strategy once you've done some listening, you feel like you're getting the picture of what's going on, is to affirm this person's strengths. Maybe there are things they're saying that don't seem reasonable to you. But in the example that I offered earlier, what strengths might you be able to affirm in this other person? Could you say to this person, I appreciate how hard you're working for our family? Or it means a lot to me that even when you're stressed out, you still care about us connecting with each other. I'm sorry you haven't felt supported by me, but I appreciate knowing that you do want to feel supported and that you're willing to speak up about it, that you're willing to share this information with me so that I can better meet your needs as a partner. Think about things that you're noticing in that person's strengths that you can just affirm, and that's going to help this person to feel a bit better inside, because sometimes when we become dysregulated, we start to feel ashamed of our feelings, especially if we're feeling things like pain or sadness or anger. Those emotions can just accompany a form of shame. So having someone else affirm our strengths in that moment, it can be stabilizing, and it can really help to bolster us out of that low and heavy place. Finally, after enough listening has transpired, you feel like you have a pretty good picture of what's going on for this person. And hopefully you've noticed that this person's energy has begun to shift and that this person has started to relax because they've had the floor. They've gotten to get things off their chest. So now it's time to move in the direction of finding a resolution. Perhaps you could do so through asking some open-ended questions. In the example I shared earlier, maybe this would look like asking something like, what is it that I could do this week to help you feel supported? Or, right now I'm having a really overwhelming week also. Could we plan something for this weekend that's going to help us to be able to reconnect? Or in the future, what is a signal that you could offer me that will help me know that you need me to lean in and to be more available to you? Or maybe to step back and give you some space. What is it that you could say or do for me as a signal? Because I can't read your mind and I want to make sure that you're getting what you need. Asking these questions could help the other person to really think through these scenarios, and it could help them to come up with some type of a solution that they'll already be bought into. This might serve as an agreement moving forward that is going to help to prevent further arguments, future arguments about the same kind of an issue. I hope that these suggestions were helpful for you. I want to just normalize the fact that every relationship has conflict at times, but if we know how to work through those conflicts and we know how to listen in a way that conveys love and respect, we are more likely to emerge from those conversations actually feeling like our relationship is in a stronger place and not a weaker place. And listening can be such a vital skill that helps us to get there. It also may inspire that person to practice the skill more with you, which does help with reciprocity for both of you to feel like you're being heard. Listening is contagious, and when you offer it to someone else, they also tend to want to offer it back. So good luck incorporating this into your conversations. And if there's someone you know that might be able to benefit from this, feel free to send it their way. If this content is helpful for you, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time.